Storytime about the time I clogged my new boyfriend's toilet. This all started when I had the intense urge to use the bathroom while he and I were hanging out. We were cuddling and watching television in his room when I accepted the fact that I would have to poop. Here and now. I let him know I'd be back in a minute, walked to the bathroom, and locked the door. Let me just tell you, this thing was huge. It didn't feel like it was, but when I turned around to flush, I had a moment of worry. Worry that it wouldn't go down the drain. I figured I would take the leap of faith and flush. It started off well. It sounded like any normal toilet flush should, and then shit hit the fan. Or shall I say, shit came to a screeching halt. Everything came to a stop. The poop, the toilet paper, the water, the world. Panic set in. I quickly looked around for a toilet plunger. This particular bathroom did not have one. More panic. I tried flushing again once everything had settled and the water had receded a bit. The same thing happened, but the water rose to the rim of the toilet. More panic. Panic, panic, panic. I decided I had to get this blockage out. I couldn't tell my boyfriend. I was too nervous for us to break the intimate barrier, so I decided to do what any panicked person would do. Anything I could. It started with me lightly kicking the bowl, praying that the tiny vibrations would be enough to shake any problem loose and send it spiraling down the drain. Nothing happened. I could feel my heart pounding. With this not working, I tried the next best thing. I put my arm in the bowl to try and see if I could push some of the toilet paper aside and see if I could see the problem. The only thing this accomplished was covering my arm past my elbow in dirty water. I realized there was one other thing I could try. He and I had spent the night with each other last night and my hairbrush was still sitting on the sink. I looked at it, looked at the handle, and looked at the toilet. I bent over the toilet and shoved the hairbrush down into the bowl, pushing it down until it hit the drain where I started moving it around. I figured this was the last straw and I didn't want to have to put anything else in the bowl, so I tried as hard as I could to push away any blockage. After about 5 minutes, I removed the brush and threw it in the trash. After a quick rinse, I scrubbed my hands over and over in the sink. Nothing was enough to remove the thought of what I had just tried. Never did I think I would find myself in this situation, yet here I was. This seemed to help a bit as the water went down, but not enough for me to comfortably flush. I didn't have my phone with me, but I swear I had been in this bathroom for at least 30 minutes, pacing, panicking, and pushing poop around. It was at this point that I accepted it. I would try to flush one more time. If that didn't work, I would have to yell to my boyfriend to grab a plunger, something I probably should have done in the first place. This was it, the last effort. I was convinced that the toilet would overflow, but my adrenaline was pumping so hard I couldn't get myself to care. I watched as the water rose and continued to rise and rise back to the brim of the toilet. It rose just to the very tip top of the rim before I heard the noise I had been begging for. The flush. Everything went down. Everything. I nearly cried. I leaned back against the wall as I watched my world set itself back on its axis. I sighed in relief, washed away the sins on my hands for the 30th time, got back into bed with my boyfriend, and finally relaxed. This happened a few years ago, and that boyfriend is now my husband. He's since heard this story and thought it was hilarious. He also couldn't believe why I never asked for help. My husband and I both work equal hours. I'm a hairstylist working at a salon and he's a warehouse manager. My mother-in-law is very sexist and lives in the 1950s still. She said women can't stop taking care of their households as a priority no matter what they achieve. I hated this and it caused endless problems between us. My husband learned to do everything from folding his clothes to fixing the toilet except cooking. His mom taught him that his future wife should do everything so he didn't have to learn. He defended me against her and cut contact with her. She hasn't participated in a gathering since 2015 due to family not wanting her around. My husband cleans while I cook, but he tends to complain from time to time and throws weird beliefs and opinions at me that are similar to what his mom thinks. I get it though, since he's been raised by her and this mentality takes time to go away. Last week he had guests over and asked me to help him host dinner. We agreed that I would cook and he would clean like always. Guests arrived and my husband sat with them while I was in the kitchen cooking. I had issues with the oven and I was running late and dinner wasn't ready yet. My husband rushed into the kitchen asking why dinner wasn't ready yet and I said I'd be done soon. He grabbed a few glasses while pressuring me to hurry up. I made a comment about how I didn't even get to meet his guests and how unfair it was. He casually said, "Just do your job," and rushed out. I was shocked and I stopped him and asked, "What did you just say to me?" He looked at me quizzically. I turned the oven off and stopped cooking. He was freaking out saying, No, wait, what are you doing?" while I took my apron off. I said I don't work for him to tell me to do my job and he should take over cooking if he thought I was being slow. He begged me not to do this to him and explained that he didn't mean to tell me to do my job. He said he wasn't paying attention. I refused to keep cooking and went upstairs to wash the smell of onion off of me. I left him in the kitchen to handle serving dinner on his own and he came upstairs 2 hours later after the guests had left and looked an absolute mess, hair messed up and his shirt stained. He asked if I was happy and proud of proving a point by backing out of cooking last minute just because he slipped and accidentally said, "Do your job." I told him that he's an adult and responsible for what comes out of his mouth, accidental or not, and again, I didn't have to cook for his guests and that I only volunteered to help him, and he sounded like his mother when he said what he said. He said it wasn't true and he was disappointed because I didn't stick to my word and left him to fend for himself and embarrass him in front of his guests by giving him half-cooked meals over something so dumb. He walked out after changing his clothes and called me mean. He wants an apology for backing out last minute knowing he can't cook. Am I in the wrong? Story time about how I accidentally got sexual with my dentist twice. I'm a 32-year-old woman who can never go back to my new dentist after 2 visits because I'm an idiot. My dentist is a very nice and professional man. Our first appointment was going pretty smoothly until he made an innocuous remark about us being strangers. My immediate reply was, "Oh, you're not a stranger. You've been inside my mouth for 20 minutes. I did not intend to make a sexual joke. His face immediately turned red and he was clearly embarrassed, but he continued on like a true professional and we were both probably relieved when the appointment was over. I had my second dentist appointment today. I actually mentally prepared myself to be a model patient who didn't say anything weird, thank you very much. He had been working in my mouth for about 5 minutes when he started to seem really uncomfortable or something. His face was red and he was breathing a little heavier. I was a bit concerned and also confused. Like, how could I have embarrassed him this time? I had hardly spoken. So he keeps working in there and then I realized what the hell is happening. My dentist was wearing grape-flavored gloves. I had been absent-mindedly licking his fingers the whole time. Needless to say, I'm never going back.
Am I the asshole for bringing something to the barbecue my coworker's daughter is allergic to? My company has a yearly barbecue and after skipping last year, I got 7 requests for my mango tart. Every time I bring it, it gets eaten immediately and everyone always mentions how much they like it, so I didn't want to disappoint. My coworker sent a group email saying that her daughter was allergic to mangoes and some other things. Not allergic to being around mangoes, just eating it. She never told anyone not to bring any, but to warn everyone of cross-contamination. I emailed back to ask if she was allergic to strawberries and she said no, so I made mango tart and strawberry tart for her. I then decided to put the mango tart in a separate cooler and put it in the back so her child couldn't grab it. Am I the asshole for bringing something to the barbecue my coworker's daughter is allergic to? The coworker and her daughter came and saw the strawberry tart and she gave one to her daughter. Her daughter saw the huge number of people at the mango tart cooler and wanted one of those. She said no, you are allergic and it's bad for you, and her daughter started crying and throwing a tantrum. She took her back to her car and then rejoined us later once her daughter had calmed down. I got an email in the morning of her proclaiming how insensitive I was for bringing mango tart when I knew her daughter couldn't have some and making her feel like she wasn't included. I'm shocked because I made strawberry tart just for her daughter and made precautions to make sure she wouldn't be exposed. Am I the asshole for bringing mango tart?
My roommate texted me and she said, hey, I left you a little present outside your door. And I was like, well, aren't you just the sweetest? She left me this little bag with this macaron, whatever, this cookie thing in it. And I took it out and I was like, okay, it's a little bit stale, but it was still really sweet of her. And then I took a bite out of it and it's soap. This is soap. I'm so confused right now. Look, those are my teeth marks in it. So anybody who's ever gotten mad at me for cursing on TikTok can take satisfaction in knowing that I received karmic retribution and I ate soap. And I wasn't the only person in the house who bit into the soap. It was a very sweet but very deceptive present. I was babysitting my friend's kids and his daughter came rushing into the room and she was freaked out. Her parents had only been gone about an hour and she just kept repeating, I need to call my dad. I need to call my dad. He needs to come home right now. And I said, okay, we can call him. But first, what's wrong? Maybe I can help you with it. And she said, no, you can't help me. And I said, okay, well, just tell me then. Just tell me what's wrong. And she was like, I have to go poop. And I said, oh, okay, you can go poop while I'm in the house. And she said, I need help wiping. And I was like, well, I can help you wipe if that's okay. And she said, no, only my mommy and daddy can help me wipe. And I was like, that's a good rule. What if I text your dad and I ask him for permission? Then can I help you wipe? And she went, okay. And then she skipped off to the bathroom and 8 seconds later she was ready. I was like, no wonder she was freaked out. We were seconds away from a disaster. Years back, I was working for this company and I called in sick on a Monday. And then when I came in on Tuesday, the boss sat me down in his office and he was like, listen, Kate, this isn't my first rodeo. I've been CEO for a long time and I know what you did. And I was like, what did I do? And he said, you were out partying and drinking all weekend and then you were too hungover to come in on Monday and that's just unacceptable. And I was like, excuse me, sir. That is not my particular brand of irresponsible, okay? My brand of irresponsible is I went camping over the weekend and we made tinfoil dinners and mine was on the outside of the fire and everybody else was on the inside of the fire because I have a hard time asserting my needs, especially when other people are there. I put them before me. And so anyway, mine was on the outside of the fire and everybody else was eating before me because theirs cooked faster and I didn't want to wait to eat mine. So I just ate it before the meat was done cooking. And did I bring the sickness on myself and get food poisoning? Yes, I did. But also, how dare you?
Story time about how my best friend started seeing my mom. So we're gonna call my best friend Joey. Joey and I had been best friends since we were 4 years old, and my family was really close with his and vice versa. And she had always been really nice to him, of course, because he was a family friend and he was my best friend. Well, one day I thought that she liked him a little bit more than she liked me. She would always ask the weirdest questions. Like, oh, is Joey single? Or what's Joey's sexuality? Like, sis had a whole ass husband. But at the time, I didn't think anything of it because I just thought that she really wanted him and I to date. But when he turned 15, things started getting a little bit weirder.
Like sometimes he would go over my house right after school, even when I wasn't there, to hang out with my mother. And usually the only time he was at the house was whenever him and I were hanging out. Well, the one day I walked in and they were both sitting on the couch talking. And when they both saw me, they acted like nothing was wrong with it, like for part 2. Part 2 about how my best friend started seeing my mom. So like I said, the one day I come home after school and they're both sitting on the couch already talking. And they look at me and say hi as if nothing was wrong with the situation. And then after that, Joey started mentioning how my mom was so hot. And I was like, yeah, no, she's pretty, but that's it. Well, the one day my mom left for work earlier than she usually does. So I messaged my dad and asked him if he wanted to hang out. So of course he said yes, and 5 hours later I came home and I go upstairs. And I'm just like hearing things from my mother's bedroom. So I go up and I open the door. And because I don't want this video to get taken down, you guys probably can guess what I saw. So I ran out of the room, ran downstairs. I start panicking. And Joey came and hugged me and said, I'm sorry, me and your mom just love each other. So I told them both they were absolutely disgusting. So then my mom starts crying and begging me to forgive her. And now I live with my dad.
I just went through a drive-thru and I said, hi, I would like a mint chocolate chip ice cream cone. And she said, sure. Would you like the small cone, the medium cone, or the large cone? And I said, I guess I'll go with the small. And then she brought out this. It's bigger than my... I was like, damn, queen, what size is small to you? Like, I want to go back and order the... You can have some, babe. I want to go back and order the large one just to see it. Anybody else fully vaccinated but still carrying their mask around like a safety blanket? Like everywhere I go, I'm like, I'm vaccinated, but I'll wear it. I have it. I'm not an anti-masker. I have it. Sometimes I just hang it from my ear. And also, as someone who struggles with social anxiety, I like it. It's like a weighted blanket for my face when I go grocery shopping.